Alright folks, welcome back to the Driveway Engineer. I'm JR. Today I'm at the treasure place where I'm going to try to unscrew myself from what I did to my axle. I know I said in the previous video, oh man, is that a Cherokee Chief? That's a bummer, it looks like it burnt. That thing's got some cool patina on it. Cadillac, Chevelle. It's not too bad out here today. Oh, we got a Ram. I think I saw this before. Anyway, I said in the previous video I was going to get an Explorer axle, which I may do still. But when I was looking around in the other yard, I couldn't find one that had disc and a limited slip. This one has disc. It might be a limited slip. I'm going to try to find what it occurred to me. A few things occurred to me while I was out there. Sometimes I have epiphanies. I was laying under every Ford in the junkyard. The deal with the Explorer axle is it's 4 inches narrower than the C10, which is okay-ish. But it occurred to me, like, why not just use a full-size axle, right? I bet they're nice and big and beefy. So I looked it up, and a full-size axle out of one of these F-150s is 67 inches wide, which comes into about 3.5 inches wider than my stock axle, okay? A lot of them have drum brakes. They're 8.8s usually. A lot of them have drum brakes. But if you have a 5.4 liter truck, or if you find a 5.4 liter truck, you get a 9 3/4 inch axle. And that axle, that's what's in this Expedition right here. That axle is beef. It's pure beef. It is a 9 3/4 inch center section, 34 spline shafts, 3 1/4 inch tubes. It's basically a semi-float Dana 60. And unlike the 14 bolt semi-float, a lot of people online on social media asked if I was getting a 14 bolt, because there is a very strong 14 bolt. So a lot of people asked if I was getting that. No, because they come with gov locks. These come with track locks, which is a rebuildable diff. And you can look in here to find your axle codes and whatnot. So there we go, axle H9. And I will Google that for you real quick and come back and tell you what it means. But that's how you do it on a Ford. And if you have a full-size car, truck, I would rather offset a little bit and have the way beefier axle. Since you got to move everything, you got to re-weld your purchase anyway. I'd rather do that, this. And I'm going to try to find this in a truck, so I only have to cut the U-bolts instead of all 4 of these. This looks kind of complicated. It's 4-link. It's got a sway bar. It's got a Watts link or a Panhard bar, and the shocks, all to get out. And I don't want to mess with it. I'd prefer to find one in the truck. But there's always Old Faithful here. The 8.8. This one has disc. Again, we can look up the axle code, D2. So we'll figure out what that means, and we'll figure out what that one means. And I'll be back to tell you. And then I'm going to go away while I actually walk around and try to find what I want. So we'll be right back. So what we have here is an Expedition with an H6. And if they start with a letter, they're limited slip. So you can automatically disregard anything that doesn't start with a letter, unless you want an open diff for some reason. Definitely ran to the scene of the accident. It's a 9 3/4. H6 means 373 limited slip. That D2 in that Explorer is a 410 limited slip, but I'm going to leave that for Dylan, who helps me out. an awful lot. So yeah, I'm gonna leave that for him, and I'm gonna pull this guy. This is, when it comes to 9 3/4, as far as I know, this is the best that they get. So I'm gonna get to sawing on it. We'll be back. All right, it looks like I forgot to come back because I was hot and tired and overheated. If you wonder how I like my cordless Sawzall, the answer is I absolutely love that thing, and I would have paid twice the price for it knowing what I know now. It took me way longer to drag this out than it did to cut it out. I had it cut out in 15-20 minutes, and I cut everything. E-brake lines, brake hoses, upper lower control arms, right through the shock body, right through the sway bar links, no problem. I did burn up a bunch of blades. I think I used like 3 or 4 blades. But so let's go over what we have here, and the pros and the cons of it. So to fix my 12 bolt, there's no non-destructive way for me to get those axle shafts out. Couple of the local places, DTS, the local off-road shop, they quoted me $1,000 to go in, and then it would be their problem how they got it apart. But $1,000 just, you know, it's too much. I'm not willing to go in and try to set up ring and pinion gears again. I've been burned once. I don't want to be burned again. So this is a Ford Sterling 9.75 inch axle. You can find it in anything from 99 on that has a 5.4 for sure. Some of the 4.6 stuff got them. But absolutely for sure anything, any F-150, Expedition, Navigator got the bigger diff. And if you think of the Sterling 10 1/4 that's in the Super Duty, this is like the semi-float version of that. This is like the 14 bolt semi-float to Clifford's 14 bolt full float. They're like, it's like the little brothers, the big brother to the 8.8. So we're talking about 34 spline axle shafts, 9 3/4 inch ring gear, 1350 U-joint that goes in the yoke that I didn't get because somebody took the drive shaft out. It's a lot of beef for not a lot of money. Now, I'm not saying that you need to run out and buy this and the 8.8s are junk or anything else. 8.8s have been proven to over 1,000 horsepower. I'm just saying that, like, one size doesn't fit all. Now, the downsides to this versus the 8.8 are the width. I measured this at 68 inches wheel mounting surface to wheel mounting surface. According to the internet, my 12 bolt was 63.5 inches, so I'm 4.5 inches wider. So 2 1/4 inches wider per side. However, those trucks have a wider front track width than back. Then the other downside is the wheel pattern. That's a 5x135 bolt pattern. And I can't use adapters to change it because it would push it even wider. I don't want to do that. They're huge 13-inch rotors, so they require a 17-inch wheel. To check it, that pinion doesn't move in and out. The backlash is about 12 thousandths. The posi works, limited slip, track lock, whatever you want to call it. I stuck my pry bar in there and tried to turn it, and I couldn't. I paid $135 out the door for this. They weirdly charged me for the rotors and not for the sway bar. I never know how. People always ask me, like, how do you know what they're going to charge you for? You never know. It depends on who's there and what kind of mood they're in, and yeah. But so next steps are to clear this off, which I would have to do with an 8.8 anyway. The pros in favor of taking the 8.8 was there was one with 410s there, and it was way narrow. Is that I think the 8.8 is 59 inches wide ish, so 4 inches narrower. So a 2-inch wheel adapter would have got me out to the stock size, the stock width, but and I would have had the stock pattern. These I'm gonna have to re-drill, which those of you that follow me on social media saw the little thing I made, the little guide to re-drill them. There's plenty of meat to re-drill them. But I'll probably just wait till I have the 8.8 brakes on it to do that. Or I may run 17s all around. I don't know. We'll see. I don't think that this axle is going to be a problem, though. I'm going to have to get all the brackets off of it, and there's no real science to that. There'll be a video on it, but you just cut them off till you're down to the bare tubes. The same is true of, you know, the 8.8. So there'll be a video on that, finding the center line of the axle and all that kind of stuff. One big downfall is I may have to have my drive shaft cut, because this snout may protrude further than the 12-bolt snout from the center line of the tube. Center line of the tube to the face of the yoke. That may be bigger, which would make my drive shaft too long. So we'll see. If I do, then I'll have it converted to a 1350 U-joint at the same time. I don't think that they'll charge me that much at DNR where I had the last one done. So, but it'll be a process, unfortunately. Again, Ford Sterling 9.75, 373 track lock, $135. It's definitely an option out there for you guys with full sizes. So well, Mrs. Engineer just drove by and completely didn't see me. I thank you guys for watching, though, and you know, I'm kind of really bummed about screwing up my 12-bolt, and I have nobody to blame but myself. But it is what it is. So thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time on the Driveway Engineer. We'll try to make lemons out of lemonade here. See you guys.